Good afternoon, guys. Welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel and yet another live stream. Today we are reacting to team news, and we are reacting to some very interesting team news. This is the Manchester United starting 11. Right now I do not know the order of the positions of the players. That is what we need to try and figure out, because if you look through the team, you will see we don't have a striker in the starting 11, which is a little bit odd. I believe this is the first time we have seen this under Ruben Amorim, so we need to try and figure out what's going on here. Could this be Garnacho up front? Possibly. Could it be Amad in a sort of false 9 role? Possibly. Even Bruno is a player that could go higher. There's a few different things to try and figure out with today's team news. Before we get into any of that though, get in the chat, guys, and let me know how you are doing. And I will also quickly try and find the Crystal Palace team news as well, because as of yet I haven't actually seen that. A lot of people straight away saying, where is the striker? It's a great question. There isn't one. It isn't one, which is peculiar. Peculiar not to have a striker in a starting 11. What does it say to Højlund and Xerxes? Neither of them have been performing amazingly well recently. Interesting message. Anyway, in terms of the Crystal Palace team, we've got it exactly right already, which is perfect. Anyway, what are our thoughts on the United team news? That is the more important team news. What do we make of this? Now, my immediate kind of concern, or something I'm not so happy about, is the fact that it is 5 defenders on the pitch again. You guys know me. I am very keen on trying to get Amad at wing back or someone attacking on the other side, and we're not going to have that in this game, which is a little bit disappointing. I would assume it'll be Bruno and Ugarte in midfield again. There is a chance it rotates. Kobe could go a little bit deeper as well. This forward position is a really interesting one though, and we're going to have to try and figure this out. I hope Ineos gets the message too. Yeah, is this a signal from Ruben Amorim that I've not got enough attackers, not got enough forwards? I want a new striker in the summer. Potentially. I was expecting team news today that wasn't going to surprise me. I thought there was sort of, 50-50 up front. That's how we do it in the streams. It's going to be Højlund or Xerxes. We pick one. This is tricky. What is nice, though, is there's a lot of academy players. Look at that front three. Look at that front three. They've all been in the Manchester United Academy at some point. That is really nice to see. Can Bruno play forward? Yeah, exactly. There's options here. Bruno could go up here. Kobe could drop a little bit deeper. We could see something like this. Bruno playing in a sort of false 9 role, dropping into these positions. There's a lot we could do. I almost borderline feel that even Kobe could be used as maybe a false 9 in some sort of rogue tactic that we're not really expecting. Amad has played centrally previously, particularly at Sunderland. He often moved into more central positions. That's possible. It could be a 3-5-2 with sort of split strikers, although I think that's a little bit less likely. I don't know, guys. I do not know, guys. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll do a poll on who you think is up front. Who is striker? That's going to be the poll for today. We don't normally do a poll in these team news reactions, but today we need to. So options are Garnacho. It could be Amad. It could be Bruno. And there's an outside chance it's Kobe Mainoo. It's possible. It's possible. Who is striker? We're going to keep that poll up for the entirety of the stream. Also, if you guys are active on Twitter and things like that, just keep an eye out for updates, because there's a chance someone will let us know who is playing in that position. Could it be split strikers with Mainoo in the 10? I think it could be. I think it's an option. I think what we've got to remember with United anyway is they'll be moving about a little bit. We saw it more so the other night in the Europa League. We saw players kind of drifting and chopping and changing positions. Bruno, for example, was central midfield and Kobe was high in the left 10. But if you actually watch the game, Kobe was often dropping deeper into these areas and Bruno would pick the ball up. Sometimes we moved to more of a diamond in that match, which is also possible in this game because Amad can play in that half space. It's difficult. It's difficult. Looking at the current stats of our strikers, we can't really expect them to start. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a bit of a kick in the teeth, right? As the striker to two strikers to not be picked, for these guys to be ahead of you is going to be a kick in the teeth. Someone like Xerxes, for example, hasn't played much the last 3 weeks. He is fit. He is available. He should be ready to go. So it's a bit of a kick in the teeth, and it leaves us in a weird position. Someone in the chat, if you go on the bio of the YouTube channel, my email address should be there, I believe. This team is defensively strong, but against Crystal Palace, I don't get it. I think what you got to remember with Ruben Amorim is, if you look at Manchester United at Old Trafford so far, under Amorim, we haven't been particularly good. He has spoken several times about players perhaps being a little bit nervous on the ball, being a little bit impatient. It feels like for home games, we are expected to set the tone, really, be the dominant team, and I think the crowd expect that as well. So I think that is something which potentially plays into team selection. Trying to be secure. He's spoken also about not conceding the first goal. He's made several comments recently about when we concede a goal in the first 30 minutes, it really makes life difficult. It puts a lot of pressure on the players. So perhaps that's why he goes for a slightly more defensive selection, or what appears to be on paper a more defensive selection, to make sure that we don't concede early and put ourselves on the back foot. Also, if we're looking at Crystal Palace, they have fullbacks at wing back as well, which is also something that's quite interesting for this game, something to keep an eye on. In terms of if we're trying to figure out this starting 11, we've got to look at the wing-backs as well, because let's say Garnacho, for example, goes out here, then there's every chance that Mazraoui goes to the left-hand side. Dalot plays as a true overlapping wing-back, and Mazraoui inverts, Garnacho goes down the outside. It's really, really difficult to figure this out. Onana will go long, who will hold up play? Well, perhaps this is a game where we won't go long. Unfortunately, I haven't had the chance to do a lot of research into Crystal Palace because I've had a very busy week after being ill. I've been catching up on videos, so I haven't had the chance to look at Palace. There's a chance they won't press high. I don't know, but if they don't press high, then Onana won't have to go long. So then we can play short and we can control the ball in that way as well. It's something to think about. Josh, good afternoon, mate. David, good afternoon. Hope you guys are both well and good. It's good to have you here as always. Imagine if Dalot, Mazraoui in the pivot, Ahmad right wing back, Kobbie right 10. That would be beyond confusing. I think I'd go Mainu and Ugarte, Ahmad and Garnacho, and then Bruno. It's just really confusing though, because if you listen to Amorim's quotes the other day after the match, he was talking about how much more free Kobbie looked, how he looked like he was enjoying his football more, and when players enjoy their football, they're better, things like that. He was talking about the freedom he got, the license to attack, and not have to worry so much about always defending in these areas. It would be weird almost to make all those comments and then drop him deeper again. Although we know Mainu can play that position. It's really, really tricky. Like I said, these wing-backs could be either way round. The central midfielders could be either way round. It may not even be Bruno in midfield. It may be Kobbie. The front three is mind-boggling to try and figure out. I guess the positive, though, we've got to look at on the flip side of this, is if you're Crystal Palace right now, and you're the manager, you've seen the United team news, and you're trying to look for any last-minute adjustments you can make, areas you can target, it's going to be a confusing one for Palace to try and line up against us because they have no idea what sort of profile we've got up front. Have we got this sort of tight space dribbler of Ahmad? Have we got a false nine of Bruno? Have we got more of a direct runner in Garnacho? That's really difficult for Palace to try and figure out for this. If we are confused, think about Palace. Maybe that's the plan. Yeah, exactly that. Something to think about. I'd have Martinez up front. Hey, ball striking recently. I didn't know he said that, to be fair. Not sure I'd want Ahmad as the 9, really. There's no one here that in an ideal world plays 9, is there? Like I said, I would love to know what's going through Højlund's and Xerxes' head when they hear this team news. When they hear that they're not been picked up front, and either Garnacho, Ahmad, Kobbie or Bruno has. What goes through their head? I'm seeing love hearts from Josh. Did I miss something? I did. I do apologise, David. David, as always, in the chat with the gifted membership. I should have assumed it was coming. I should have known it was going to be there. David, thank you very much, as always. Guys, you know what to do. Churn. I accidentally done that time. Churn the chat green. Spam some love hearts in the chat. Make that chat full of green stars, green W's, green hearts, all of that for David, because he's a legend. David, thank you very much, as always. I'd put Garnacho up top and Mainu and Ahmad as the 2 10s. I mean, that's quite an exciting prospect, I feel. I think if you do that, the ball retention in these zones is really nice. I think there's not too many players at United that can play with their back to goal. Kobbie is one of them that can, though. He can receive in these areas. Ahmad, not quite as good as Kobbie in that aspect, but still comfortable in the middle of the pitch. This is a really tough one. I don't think we have ever seen Manchester United team news, and I've been so confused as to what would happen. Apart from when we saw Mazraoui in 10 earlier in the season. But even then, at least we were told it was going to be like that. So, confusing. Who's the most dangerous Palace player? Realistically, it's got to be Mateta up top. Really good goal scorer. Past 12 months now, he's been in really good form, scoring a lot of goals, different types of goals as well. Sometimes being a sort of a target man in the box with headers, poacher goals, but also stretching defences in behind. I think Maguire could be a good matchup, particularly for long balls. Maguire against Mateta is our best hope there, although Mateta is massive. But I also think you've got to look out for Sarr as well. He used to play for Watford. He's a really tricky, dangerous player. Proper winger, really. He wants to dribble at people. He wants to come inside the pitch. He wants to confront defenders. But I think what will be more of a concern is actually when he spins back outside against Sandro Martinez, who we know isn't the greatest wide defender in the world. I'm perhaps a little bit concerned about that 1v1, although maybe that's why Dallo is at left wing back to help out, possibly. I think Yoro on the other side gives us something, the athleticism, the pace, the extra bit of ground coverage. It's nice to see him back in the team. It's good to see that. Overall, I'm content with the back three. I'm quite happy with that. It's close to what we ended up with in stream yesterday. We had Mazraoui in the back three instead, so we could be a bit more attacking, but I certainly don't mind the team news. Imagine Martinez being the number 9 with Mazraoui as the right centre-back. Heard it here first. What if it is Mazraoui in the 10 and Ahmad on the wing? Possible. It is possible. Again, there's so much to think about here. Someone said our bench looks weak. Let me just quickly check what our bench actually is. Yeah, the person earlier who said about getting in touch with me personally, you can message me on Twitter. You can join the Discord server, which is linked in the chat, and message me via that. Or my email address should be on the YouTube channel. Anyway, let's take a quick look at the Manchester United bench. And actually, there's a couple of interesting players here. So obviously you've got Bayindir in goal, which was always going to be the case. You've also got, though, Eli Harrison, the young goalkeeper who was out on loan. He's a good young player. Interesting that we've got 2 keepers on the bench. Again, perhaps points to a lack of depth in the squad. Then we've got De Ligt and Lindelof, as you would expect. Casemiro, Collier, Ericsson feels a little bit light. And then Højlund and Xerxes. Now, that to me tells you all the problems we've got right now. All the problems we've got right now. If you go through that bench, let me just say it again, the last 5. Casemiro, Collier, Ericsson, Højlund, Xerxes. We think about Manchester United being this team that can impact a game with pace, with dribbling and things like that. None of those 5 offer that, which is why for me, we do still need to be active in the transfer window. Tell probably looks the most likely on a loan deal or something like that, but we do still need someone, right? And this is why I don't think we can be fussy, because if we don't click in wide positions in the first half, we don't actually really have too much that we can impact the game with. Lightning saying, I just got here and I'm baffled. Yeah, not surprised, mate, not surprised. Sarr has looked quite good recently when I've seen Palace. Yeah, his form recently has been very good. Like you said, he took a bit of time to settle, but recently he's been playing really well. I think he's actually quite a good asset in FPL as well, if you play that. I don't like the wing-backs, please attack. Yeah, I do feel that. I do understand that viewpoint, but I guess if he really doesn't want to play Xerxes or Højlund, we don't have too many other options, right? Because let's say you put Ahmad as a wing-back to be more attacking, who would then play here? Ericsson? Feels unlikely that he'll play 2 games in 4 days. So we perhaps don't have too many options there. We know in terms of the bench that Collier is going to bring something for us. We know that he's got that ground coverage, the intensity. He could be useful in the second half. Højlund or Xerxes, gives us the ability from the bench to change the game with different types of players. Højlund can obviously run in behind and things like that. Xerxes is someone who could play as more of a false 9, so it's just a really difficult one to get your head around. Alex, afternoon, mate. Hope you get better soon, my friend. Hope you get better soon, because, yeah, I think I had the same illness as you've got like 10 days ago, and I was on the ropes, so I hope you get well soon, mate. Hopefully we won't need saving from the bench. That is the dream. I think this is a really, really big game. I think we were talking during the week about the Europa League game and the games coming up, about what is the most important game for United at the moment. This is right up there for me, because what we've had a lot of recently is United struggling at Old Trafford in the Premier League. We can go and beat the big teams. We've got results against City, Liverpool with the draw, Arsenal on penalties. We can get results against the big teams. What we've really struggled with is at home, in the games where we are expected to kind of assert our dominance. Again, I said it earlier about the crowd kind of putting expectations on these sorts of games. I think this is a really, really important one. I think it would be a good symbol of where United are under Ruben Amorim if we can win this football match, because it's the sort that just 4 weeks ago we were losing. That run of, the teams like Bournemouth and that coming to Old Trafford and beating us. So I think this is a really big game. Valzer, good afternoon, mate. How are you? I think it's most likely Garnacho, but link back to goal will be rough. Yeah, I mean, again, like I said earlier, I haven't actually had too much time to look into Palace, so I can't tell you much about them. I don't know if they are going to press us. I don't know. If they were to press, we obviously talk about this all the time. If you can't play out from the back, sometimes you've got to go long and go over it. Who are we going to? Who are we going long to? Having said that, Højlund's not been offering us too much there anyway. I do like Xerxes there, but yeah, it does make it difficult to go over, unless you can go further rather than going for the target man play if you can get the ball in behind, but we haven't done that very well recently. It can't be Bruno at 9 because the manager said Cobby can play number 10 with a smirk. Is that today he said that? It's a day for ball carriers. You know what, Steve, mate, that's a great point. United have lacked ball carriers in the team for a while, and there's some players in the middle there, Ugarte, Cobby, Ahmad, who can take that ball and carry. I like it a lot. What if we just have Ahmad and Garnacho up top with Mainu as the 10? Yeah, very possible. Again, I think what's important is that you don't get too fixed on the formation as such. For example, it would be very easy for me to call this a 3-4-3, and we go, Mainu plays as a false 9, right? Which means he drops and links. Well, very quickly, if he drops and links and the wingers come inside more, it's now a 3-4-1-2. So formation as such isn't too important. It's more about actually just the rough areas, the zones they're covering, more than like a fixed position. I've seen people saying that they've seen other channels or accounts saying that it's going to be Bruno at 9. Some are saying that it's Cobby at 9. They won't know. They will be guessing like us. They might say it with chest a little bit more, but actually no one, I doubt, knows exactly who it is, unless someone with links to the club has tweeted and said something different, but I personally haven't seen that. Mainu deeper. Yeah, if you're Googling the team news, by the way, if you just Google Man United and look at the team news, that will be wrong. Or it's not guaranteed to be wrong, but they don't have any inside knowledge. They just get given an 11, like what we've been given, and they try and fit it into 11 different positions, like I've done. They don't actually know for a fact who is playing where. Feels like this starting 11 will have a lot of rotations in the final third. That's what I'm hoping for. I think that's something that we've done really well in midweek. We looked more rotational, a bit more fluid with the attack. I think it helps when you've got the type of profile that we had. It was Mainu and Eriksen, weren't it, in that game? Both players that typically are central midfielders, but also like to get further forward. We know that Bruno likes to do similar. That there were a lot of rotations, and I think that made United much more effective. It will be really interesting to see if that's something that we continue. Did we just do it because we felt that we were playing much weaker opposition that couldn't really hurt us too much in transition, so we were more aggressive and on the front foot? Or is there actually a sign that we are evolving under Ruben Amorim, that we are taking steps forward in the process, and that we are now in a spell where we can be more attacking, more aggressive, get these players further forward, more regularly, no matter who the opposition is? We don't know that at the moment. We do not know that at the moment. Nuruddin, good afternoon, mate. How are you? Garnacho has a minor history up front. There's just so many different things this could be. It could even be, right, Cobby left 10. It could be Ahmad up front, the false 9. Garnacho on the right-hand side. We've seen him there before. There's so many different things that this could be. It's ridiculous. Eli Harrison on the bench is cool. Yeah, obviously he's not going to play, but it is cool to see him in there. After he got recalled from his loan, didn't he? Which was a bit odd. But hopefully this helps us because Palace are well drilled defensively. Well, that's the point I was making earlier, right? If we all sit here today going, where on earth are these guys playing? Palace are probably doing something similar. Like I said, we've got different options up front. You've got that small, tight technician. You've got the runner of Garnacho. You've got the almost passing creative striker of Bruno. There's so many different things it could be. Bruno is obviously the false 9. It's something Amorim did in Portugal previously. There's a few players who could do it. Mainu played on the right midweek, but actually, interestingly, he did both, didn't he? He started the first half on the left-hand side, then moved to the right. No matter which side he was playing, he was drifting between the two. So, yeah. We're so lucky that Eze is in the bench. That is something that I didn't mention, actually, when talking about Palace. They are weakened by not having Eze. If you compare it to last season, there's no Eze or Elise, which for us is a positive to not have those two carrying the ball at you constantly. AJ, hope you're doing well. I am very good, thank you. Very good indeed. I hope you are. And Snipes as well, mate. I'm good, thank you. Hope you're good. Hope you're good. Just trying to figure out at the moment what on earth is going on here. Garnacho deserves a throw at starting 9 with Rasmus and Xerxes being underwhelming. Again, the strikers are going to be sitting there annoyed a little bit, right? Because there's a player playing out of position instead of them starting. But I don't really think either of them can have too many complaints. I think Xerxes was good the other week against Southampton, was it, I believe? But outside of that, he's not really been great. Højlund's been struggling for quite a while. I don't think they can have too many complaints. I don't think they can complain too much. I think Bruno plays higher today, considering we don't have a striker. That's a good point. He is someone who will offer us that run past off the ball. Although, to be fair, Kobe did that pretty well the other day. Or even if he plays deep, we need him to get into the box or create. Mainu and him need to interchange. The interesting thing is going to be, with Palace defending in a back 5, is there a chance that we attack with a 6 to try and overload it? So normally teams will defend with a back 4, right? And that means that we can go with our front 5. It gives us the extra player. It gives us an overload, which is a good thing. If the opposition are going to drop into a 5, which Palace will do at times, do we therefore need to attack with a 6 to try and overwhelm it? Now, this is something that we were doing in midweek. We saw Bruno playing higher from this position. Is that something we try and do? If we do, then I don't think it will be Mainu up front. Because Ahmad and Garnacho here doesn't make too much sense to me. Unless Dalot then rotates in and Garnacho goes wide, it's difficult. It's difficult. If Garnacho is on the left, that is something that I want to continue seeing, by the way. The rotation where he drifts wider and the wing-back comes inside the pitch. I think we need to see that. Just tricky, innit? It's just tricky. That's kind of the theme of this stream. Me going, it's quite difficult to predict this. It's quite difficult. In that case, we need to be ready for their transition attack if we play 6 high up. So that's the really important thing in terms of, I think we will want to get on the front foot. We will want to try and control and dominate and be, you know, the big team in this game. But there is going to be a transitioning threat. We've seen a lot of teams this season starting to use this shape more and more. We saw Ten Hag using it quite regularly as well. There's other managers that have done it also. It can be a little bit weak in transition because when you play with this shape, let's push these players a little bit further forward. The problem is you don't have someone immediately defending here and here. When you play with a 2, they kind of do it between them, right? They cover those spaces. Here and here is covered. When you only play with 1, which United could do at times, when you only play with 1, those spaces are going to be there. Of course, Palace won't be quite this aggressive. These players will be a little bit deeper. But certainly in terms of the chance to quickly kind of spring an attack, it's something that United will have to be aware of. We have to be cautious with that. So I want to see us being progressive, aggressive, fluid in the final third, like we were in midweek. But we also do need to be a little bit tighter defensively than we were midweek, because I think a better team would have punished us. Being on the front foot is going to be hard against Crystal Palace. Yeah, I mean, Palace aren't a bad team at all. They had a really poor start to the season, but they've improved since then. They're much more settled, much more just kind of, they're leveled out a little bit, I would say, as the season has gone on. They're a dangerous side. They've got some really good players. We know that Munoz on the right-hand side, he's always going to be a threat. He powers his way forward down the right-hand side. So that, plus Sarr against the Santa Martinez, could be a problem. It could be a problem. Steve, Netherlands, mate. The defensive line has to be disciplined today. Yeah, I think that's really important. If you are going to go for a team selection, which on paper has 5 defenders, which I'm not particularly keen on, I'll be honest. If you are going to go for 5 defenders, then you do have to get that defensive benefit, if you know what I mean, because they're not always going to offer you a lot of attacking threat. So if they can't offer us loads of attacking threat, they've got to be solid defensively. They've got to be secure. I think Maguire against Mateta is obviously a big battle. I think everywhere else I'm fairly comfortable. This worries me a little bit. This worries me a little bit. More in transition than anything. When Dallow's a little bit high, Sarr can pick the ball up and isolate Leacher. That's when I'm a little bit more concerned. A little bit worried about that. Is it a back three for Crystal Palace? Yeah, it nearly always is a back three. They pretty much always play in this formation. And a bit like us, they do go for fullbacks at wing back like this. It will be 2 in midfield, although these 2 will probably get in nice and tight to be kind of secure and compact. But it is very much a back 3 / a back 5. David in the chat with another gifted membership. David, thank you very much. Very kind of you, sir. Guys, you know what to do. Get some love hearts in the chat for David because he's a bloody legend, mate. Absolute legend, David. Thank you very much, as always. As always. Yes, guys, look at that. Chat, make it green, make it green. Yes, look at it, it looks beautiful. David, thank you very much, as always. AJ, I love your voice, especially when you say we've got big goals this year. Hey, we've got big goals this year, all right, mate? That's what we do. What if we sign Kudus when West Ham gets relegated? Yes, please. But I don't think they'll get relegated, I'll be honest. Hopefully with no out-and-out number 9, Højlund and Xerxes. Or without them, sorry. Seeing a false 9 setup would spur them for a big positive reaction from them when they come on. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, if they probably will come on at some point, certainly one of them, there's going to be an impression to make. You know, they're going to want to make an impact. So, yeah. Questionable accent. That's just how I talk, man. Off topic, but what did you make of the Brighton versus Forest match? Bonkers. Bonkers. So naive from Brighton at times. Tactically, Forest just completely did a job on them, to be honest. They completely outplayed them. Who is playing up top? That's the question of the day, really. The answer is, no idea. No idea. Striker might be Garnacho because he is the pace, and it might be Ahmad because he is more clinical. Yeah, and again, better in tight spaces. It's so difficult to predict. I think the big thing is, if you're going to play in this way, you're not going to have a natural striker in the middle, then you do need moments of fluidity where players can move about, chop and change, and really ask questions of the centre-backs. Because I think particularly when you play against the 3 centre-back system, right? We know this because United do it all the time. Because there's a chance this is man-to-man across the back line. If United can control the ball and gain territory. Because it's potentially 5v5, I think on paper it's easy to look at this as man-to-man battles. You know, this is a battle, this is a battle, this is a battle, this is a battle. Well, I've always said one of the best ways to actually beat that is to drag players out of position. You know, if you want to be man-to-man with me and you want to follow me into positions, I'm going to take you where you don't want to go. So we saw Kobe doing this really effectively in midweek. Can you drop out here and can you drag a player out to make that room? This is what I'm hoping for from United. I'm a little bit worried about the lack of striker, obviously. But we do have to look at the positive spin is there's not an obvious player always for Palace centre-backs to mark. You know, if Garnacho suddenly drifts out here, let's say Garnacho starts up front, right? And the centre-backs are man-to-man here. What happens when Garnacho drifts? Does he get passed on to Richards? Is that now his man? Or should the middle centre-back be following? Well, now what's Guehi meant to do? He's got a lot of space to cover. Now he's going to leave Ahmad in room. This is what we need to try and do. Try and pull these players about, pull them into different positions and confuse them with the movement. Again, particularly when you then get Bruno arriving into space as well. I think that's what we have to do with our attack in this game. Surely someone has to get into the box for the cutback. Isn't that usually how it works with false 9 systems? Yeah, I mean, we know what we're like under Amorim. We know that we struggle a little bit in the middle, which means what we're looking for really is trying to get in behind in these areas here, particularly behind the wing back, I'd imagine, and trying to get into these zones. From here, the obvious thing would be, can you find that pass? Can you find that pass? And again, this is where it's potentially difficult for Palace to deal with, because normally if you're this centre-back, there's going to be a striker here, and he's the one that you pick up. He'll probably play here, someone else will attack that space. With no striker to pick up at all, it does become a bit interesting for a centre-back, because you don't want to stand there and mark no one because you feel like you're not doing anything. But if you actually go out and be aggressive, you are then leaving space for someone else to arrive into. I think it could almost make the United attack quite deceptive at times with the movement. I think what I'm hoping for is a lot of third-man runs in this game. So we see a player making the initial run to drag someone out of position and then someone else going into the space. So again, can Kobe draw a centre-back out? Can Garnacho spin in there? Or can, let's say it's this way around, let's put Bruno up top for a second. Can Bruno drag the centre-back? Now can these guys get in here? I think this is what we've got to be looking at. Just trying to cause confusion with rotations in the final third. Now, this is where it's interesting because it's not something Amorim has done massively since being at the club. He's actually been a little bit cautious. I don't want to use the word pragmatic because I don't think it's the case, but he doesn't always encourage lots and lots of positional rotations. It's not normally what he does, but we did see it in midweek. We did see it the other week against Rangers a little bit more. So perhaps this is us growing and developing as a team. I don't know. I think another player who's important as well is this man. I've been quite critical of him in this season. I think he's struggled with a lot of the physical problems. And previously, a bit earlier in the season, he wasn't offering us that much on the ball. Obviously, he's always good, but he wasn't offering us tons. At the moment, next level. Absolutely next level, his performances. On the ball, this guy has been an absolute joke. He's been doing things that a centre-back shouldn't even think of doing, let alone have the quality to actually do it to the standard that he has. I think if this is a game where Palace perhaps drop a little bit deeper, then literally coming forward and getting into these areas is something that we've got to be looking at. We've got to be looking at that extra ball. And again, that's where you're looking at the runs off the ball. Players sort of just arriving and drifting. Again, there's not an obvious striker for the centre-backs to pick up. That player arriving into the space is something that United need to do. Having said all of that, right? All of that only works if we can get that far up the pitch. There's a chance that Palace go really aggressive, right? Because on paper, this looks like two teams playing a pretty similar formation, right? It does. So let's say this guy goes here, up here, up here, up here. Let's put Dallo a little bit deeper, Mazraoui. There is potential for Palace to go man-to-man. They will be very aware of the fact that we do lack physicality up front, so we probably can't go long over the top, so we can't hurt them in that way. It might lead to Palace trying to be really aggressive. And if that is the case, then yeah, I'd maybe be a little bit worried. Because I don't think United are great in these areas. I've made it quite clear that I'm not a big fan of the middle centre-back in midfield. I think it just sort of clogs things up a little bit. We kind of get in each other's way. Like I said, do we really have the ability to go over the top? Probably not, because we haven't got the aerial presence. Do we have the press resistance in midfield? We lack it a little bit. So if Palace come out and be aggressive, I'm a little bit concerned. But having said that, I think this is a really interesting area. Because what we are quite used to, we've spoken about the United midfield a lot over the past 18 months. And the qualities it does have, but also the qualities it doesn't have. It doesn't have a high volume passer. It doesn't have a true press resistant midfield when Kobe doesn't play there. And also it doesn't have a lot of physicality. It's got intensity and hard work, but not actual muscle. Right? We don't really have that in the team. So therefore, normally when we come up against an opposition, they have at least one midfielder who you look at and think, oh my God, he's going to absolutely destroy us. He's 6'2", he's big, he's strong, quick. He's just going to run through our midfield. Palace don't really have that. Palace don't really, in my opinion, have a massive physical advantage in midfield, unless it's one of those days where, they really turn up and we don't. I don't see an obvious advantage for either team there, physically, which means the technical comes into it a bit more. And that's where I think United have an advantage. I think we have an advantage in this position, even if it's Kobe a little bit deeper. I think actually it's physically a fairly average matchup between these two sets of midfield. Technically, I think United look a lot better. I think there's a lot more threat there. So I think that's a part of the pitch where we might have some joy in this game. Someone said I want to see, or preferably it would have been Mazraoui off, one of the 2 9s on, and Ahmad at right wing back. Yeah, I could absolutely see that. If we are chasing a goal second half, we're 1-0 down, or even if it's just level, I could see that sub happening. Mazraoui moves a little bit deeper, someone moves into kind of this position here, and then let's say Xerxes comes on or Højlund comes on. That's a sub that I would expect to see. Goal kicks will be wild too. We might try overload both fullback positions. That leaves space for Maguire to be the main rest defender. I mean, yeah, we need to talk about goal kicks up this end, don't we? Let's move the whole team up, because if we're talking about them matching us, we can also match them. I did not do that very well at all. Let's try that again. We can also match them up here. So when Palace are trying to play out from the back, can we get them? Their approach is a little bit different. They won't move the centre-back into midfield. They will shift across like this, which I prefer. I do prefer that. I think it just gets players in more natural positions. Munoz will go a little bit higher. Is this where United can be aggressive? Can we get after them? Dino, whilst being quite a good long passer, isn't the best ball playing goalkeeper in the world in terms of playing short, sliding it through midfield. Again, they don't have an obvious physical advantage here, which is good for us because it means we should be able to be aggressive. I guess the concern would be they do have that long ball option. They do have that option because Mateta is good in the air. He is. Although we do have a man called Harry Maguire who happens to be pretty good in the air as well. This is what I keep coming back to, though. It's that matchup there that I keep coming back to. Worries me a little bit. Worries me just a little bit. Also, by the way, we haven't covered this yet on the channel. I don't know if you guys have noticed it. United have been a bit more 4-4-2 off the ball recently. Just a little bit more. And this 11 maybe gives us the chance to do that in a different way to what we normally would. We could actually shift this way into the 4-4-2. Obviously, it puts Dallo in an unnatural position, but that can happen sometimes. There's a chance we move into more of that shape off the ball as well. I don't know if we will or not, but it gives us an extra one at the back with 4v3 here. And it means we wouldn't be as aggressive. We wouldn't be going man-to-man. But perhaps if we're trying to be a bit more compact in the block, this could work. The ball goes one way. That's when you then kind of lock on and be a bit more aggressive. Something United might do because it does still allow us to keep the extra defender back here. So I would look out for that as well in this game. By the way, guys, David has just said there is 664 watching and only 111 likes. I think we need to run those numbers up. Also, how's the poll going? We've got 980 votes on this poll. What? I think our record's like 100. So 38% of people think Garnacho will play as a striker. 27% think it'll be Ahmad. 23% gone for Bruno, and only 12% have gone for Kobe. I think I would probably agree with that. I think Bruno's a bit more likely than Ahmad personally, but apart from that, I mean, I like 4-4-2 when we play winger at wing back. Yeah, I agree with that. Ahmad, Mazraoui, Maguire, Licha, Dallo, perfect for that switch. Yeah, completely agree. United app says Bruno up top. Yeah, we saw the other week, though, that the United app is certainly not always right with that team news. We're now at 1,000 votes on the poll. That's pretty cool. We should do long polls more often. That's an interesting question there. Is it time that we start putting Chido Obi Martin on the bench if we don't really trust our two strikers? It's an interesting one. Just left a like. Thank you very much, Liam, mate. Very kind of you. Yeah, guys, if you could leave a like on the stream and subscribe to the channel if you're new, or even if you're not new, sometimes you just forget that you haven't subscribed. And notifications on helps a lot as well. If you could do that, please, that'd be great. Don't feel you have to, but you have to. So please do that. I've never once thought United would lose no matter our form, but this lineup is giving me bad vibes. Yeah, it's one of those days, right, where what I'm going to really beg of you is to be sensible post-game. Because this is either going to really work for Ruben Amorim. We're going to win 2-0, and he looks like a genius, right? He's played with no strikers, and we've won 2-0. Absolute masterclass. Or it will be a game where we lack a bit of attacking threat. We struggle to break them down, and perhaps we draw 0-0 or lose 1-0 from a set piece or something. And everyone will go, well, he's lost the plot. What does he expect? He's Manchester United manager and he didn't play a striker at Old Trafford. So don't be like that, is what I would say, okay? Let's not base our assessment of this on the result. Base it more on the performance. Think about why he's doing it, the players available, players he's protecting, all of those things. The reaction after the kickoff, we know, or after full time, in the wider world, we know what it will be, right? Depending on the result. But let's try as a community to not be like that. Yeah, just to go for was it Chido Obi? Okay, he's a way off for me. He's not ready. Maybe next season, give him a run in pre-season, but for now he's not ready to play as a striker for me. Something I do find really interesting though is we are unveiling Patrick Dorgu today, which is really cool, by the way. One of the first signings of the Ruben Amorim era. Pretty nice to see. He's being unveiled before kickoff. As is Aiden Heaven. Now, I said in my video the other day, right at the start, apparently he's going to be used legitimately as a first-team player and as a backup. But I, in my head, kind of went, yeah, right, of course he is. Of course he is, yeah. He's definitely going to be used as a backup in the first team. I thought he would just go straight into the academy. The fact that he actually going to be unveiled on the pitch before kickoff, that doesn't happen with youth players normally. It's quite rare, certainly as far as I'm aware. So maybe he, like, actually, legitimately, genuinely is involved in the first team and seen as a first team player. If so, that's really interesting. Really, really interesting, especially if he is seen as a centre-back, because I thought he struggled a little bit at times in that position. That will be, yeah, interesting to look at. Like you said, is he number 26? Oh, I'll get rid of the 76 then that he played previously. It's interesting. It's interesting, because I just didn't see it, for me personally. If he is, fair play. Yeah, he's got a squad number, he's being unveiled. The reports were that he's going to be... Pretty sure United confirmed they bought him for the first team. That's interesting then. Alex has made an interesting point there as well. Maybe Heaven is the Lindelof replacement. Possibly. I mean, you know, I haven't seen an awful lot of him. I've seen every game he's played at senior level, but most of them were friendlies. And I've seen 3 full academy games where he looked alright. I can get you the footage if you want. He looks raw to me, though, as a centre-back. But what I will say is every time we try and do team selection for United, sometimes we look at Sandro Martinez and go, you know, he's played 5 in a row, he's played 4 of the last 5 or whatever, he looks tired. And we always go, yeah, but we can't drop him because we've got no one left-footed who can come into this team. But we've got no one who can come and play that role, especially with Luke Shaw always injured at the moment. So we've got no one to replace him with. Heaven at least is left-footed. So it does make sense. Do we need to look at him, perhaps, FA Cup on Friday? Is he someone who could be making his debut? You know, could we see Heaven and Dorgu getting minutes against Leicester? 20 minutes here or there? Maybe. Is he left-footed? He is indeed. Yeah, if you are new around here, there is a video up on the channel from during the week looking at him. Like I said, I've seen... I think it's 4 senior games I've seen. No, it might be 5. I think I've seen 4 from pre-season and then like a 20-minute cameo against Preston in the Carabao Cup I watched. And I watched 3 youth games against Chelsea, against Liverpool and against Wolves. So I'm not an expert on him. I'm a little bit concerned about him as a centre-back. But in a back 3 system, like I said the other day, he does get a little bit more support. He gets a little bit of extra help with players around him. So... Maybe there's something there. Like Valsa said there, I'm sure, you know, Arteta knows more than we do, and he trusted him to actually get some first team minutes. And also, we're signing him, and the people signing him probably know more than we do, so we just got to trust him, I guess. I think Heaven's defensive game still needs to improve. Yeah, I would agree with that. To me, he looks like a midfielder playing centre-back. We'll have to wait and see. Anyway, let's get back to actually talking about today. There was something I wanted to read in chat, but I've lost it. Where was it? First time in the live stream. Well, I hope you're enjoying it, my friend. I hope you are enjoying it. It's a good vibe around here. It's a good vibe. Nice and chill. Hey, AJ, do you think Tell plays as a centre forward if he joins us? If you asked me an hour ago, I'd have said no. I'd have said I think he comes as a left forward and plays and competes with Garnacho for this role here and could also play on the right-hand side. Now we see a starting 11 where we literally don't play a striker. It makes me think, actually, maybe he could sometimes play up front a bit more than I was expecting. I don't know, of course. I see him as more of a left-forward player, and if he does sign, I've got a video to do on him and Dorgu, but also Garnacho, also Dallo recently. Maybe there's a tactical direction we're going in here, but we'll cover that if and when Tell signs. I sort of did a brief breakdown yesterday. Unfortunately, it's not the greatest video I've ever done because I was knackered when I done it and low on time. But tactically, there is something to look at there. Yeah, guys, I didn't actually see the message itself, but if we could avoid spamming and all caps, please, that'd be great. If it's all caps, I'm not going to read it. And if you put the same message like 6 times, I'm not going to read it. But yeah, if we keep it lowercase, I'll try and read your message out. I can't read every message because you guys are being unbelievably active today. Like, just scroll up in the chat. It's ridiculously quick today. So I can't read everything, but I will try and read as many as possible. If you've got a really important message, by the way, you can use a super chat, which will guarantee that I see it and read it out. But completely up to you guys. Completely up to you guys. For another day, but I can't see Rashford thrive at Villa. Do you mean you don't think he will, or emotionally it would hurt you to see that? I personally want him to go and really do well. I heard the reason Heaven want him to change is he actually wants to play as a midfielder and not a defender. As a midfielder, he's really interesting, I think. Nice ball carrier, got real drive in the middle of the pitch, good stride length. Ground eater borderline. Something to look at a bit more. Why does Mazraoui not play left centre-back? I think, to be honest, Lisandro Martinez is just naturally left-footed, right? And it's good for us. It gives us that angle out wide. If you go for Mazraoui over here, right, and just look at the profiles real quick, let's put, I don't know, I don't really care. Whoever here. They're all right-footed. They're all going to pass this way. You know, Mazraoui picks the ball up. He drifts this way. Dalot this way. Garnacho this way. Bruno this way. Ugarte this way. Maguire, Yoro, Mainu, Garnacho. Like, Ahmad's the only one who offers something a little bit different going back that way. So that's why Lisandro Martinez is so important, because he does give us the chance to go down the other side of the pitch. Of course, you know, a lot of players are two-footed and can play both, but you can't be just naturally the player that lets us go down that side of the pitch. That's why Dorgu's quite exciting as well, because it gives us a bit more of a two-way threat down this side rather than always going one way. So, yeah, I think that's why it's so important. Love your content. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Very kind of you. AJ, I didn't join from the beginning, but could this be a 3-5-2? It could. It could. I've lost Dalot. Where's Dalot gone? There he is. It could be a 3-5-2. It could be, you know, Kobbie dropping a little bit deeper into the midfield like this. It could also be one of Kobbie or Bruno sort of playing in like a 10 position, kind of behind split strikers, changing almost into a false 9 as well. There's a few different things it could be. The message was to the viewers, mate, was just asking everyone to drop a like on the live. My bad with the caps. In that case, guys, you shouldn't have used all caps, but I agree with Firehead. Leave a like on the stream, please and thank you. Firehead, I love your energy, mate. Love it. It's just, yeah, I don't read all caps, but apart from that, I love the energy, my friend. Can we all be wrong? More than likely. Yoro left centre-back, Maguire centre-back, Mazraoui right centre-back, Lisandro is our striker. There's a possibility, right? There's a possibility. I think it's a little bit unlikely because of the fact that he's not a striker. But, hey, he's popped up with goals recently. So maybe late on. Maybe he gets 10 minutes up there or something. Emery has form for resurrecting careers. I think Rashford will do well there. I hope he does well, for his sake. I like him as a player. I like him. AJ, do you think Mainu plays further forward today with Bruno dropping deeper? I would imagine so, purely based on the Amorim quotes the other day. I was mentioning it earlier. A lot of comments on how Kobbie looks more free when he plays higher up the pitch. Players are happier when they're more free, and when they're happier, they play better, they play with confidence. He didn't have to focus so much on doing all the defensive work back here. So after those quotes, it would be odd to then immediately drop him back here. But also, this is Ruben Amorim. Maybe he's trying to throw us off a little bit as well. So, yeah. Danny B, good afternoon, my friend. How are you? What do you think of the team news? It's an interesting one. I mean, Licha was stepping up to take free kicks. Who knows? Did anyone think that was going in, by the way, the other night? When Lisandro Martinez is standing over a free kick, did anyone actually think he was going to score? I mean, personally, I didn't, but I like to see it. You know, it's a bit of culture. Bit of culture. Centre-back stepping up to take a free kick. I think we will play the same way as midweek, except Garnacho instead of Højlund. I could see that. I could see that, to be fair. You keep Kobbie where he played well the other day. Same for the two, or for Bruno in midfield. Ugarte is fairly natural in this team as well. Ahmad can play the right half space. I think it's a valid point. It does. I'm just worried about the lack of wide threat. I am worried about that. Like, you guys know me. I like to see tricky wingers taking on fullbacks in 1v1s as much as possible. We're going to lack that a little bit in this game. I'm hoping down the right, if it is Ahmad, then we see rotation, where Mazraoui sometimes goes inside. We haven't seen it as much on the right as what we have the left, but there's still been glimpses. Mazraoui was doing it particularly about a month ago. He kept popping up in here, and Ahmad would play wider. So I want to see, again, the word is fluidity, really. I want to see these players moving and interchanging in these parts of the pitch. Regardless of whoever goes striker, we will be rotating with the players inside and in the midfield. Exactly. Anyway, I think we've pretty much covered everything because it's actually quite difficult to come to a conclusion. I've just seen my trim, by the way. That is mental. I think what we need to do now is score predictions. So, guys, in the chat, score predictions and your goal scorers as well. And if you are a member, for example, 2 of you are because David literally gave you memberships earlier, you can use the custom emojis in the chat to predict your goal score as well, which is pretty cool. Sadly, we only have forwards. But yeah, get involved that way, and then I will give you my predictions in a moment as well. Whilst you are also waiting to see everyone else's predictions, if you could like, subscribe, get notifications on, and also join the Discord, which is going to be really active, I would imagine, this afternoon. So get involved there, then yeah, that'd be great. I can't believe my hair is actually... Oh, God, it's not even any better. Look at that state of that. Hey. AJ, can you shout out Fluid Football Amarim? Hey, it's my favourite Amarim, mate. It's my favourite Amarim. Anyway, I'm seeing United winning 4-0. I mean, yes, please. I'm seeing 2-1, 2-1, 2-1, 5-0. I'll take a 5-0. 6-1 with the Bruno screamer. 3-1, 3-1. I'm seeing Valzago, what was that? 2-1 with goals from Bruno and Cobby. Steve Go and Garnacho and Bruno. 2-0, Dallo and Mazraoui, the wingbacks. After all this talk about no wide threat, they pop up. Screams 1-0. I see it being a messy one in the box from Bruno. We'll take it. A win's a win. 3-0, Garnacho, Ahmad and Bruno. 2-0, Mainu and Garnacho. It's Josh, I swear. You do this on purpose just to make me angry, don't you, mate? Josh going 2-1 Palace, if we could all attack him, please. I'm worried about how we're going to get out of the press. Yeah, me too. 2-1, of course, we fall behind 1-0 and then finish strong. I'll take it if we get there. David always with the positivity. You can guarantee David positivity. And a super chat as well, by the way. Absolute legendary behaviour. Guys, before I even read it out, love for David again. 3rd time this stream, this guy is dropping in. Gifted memberships, super chats. What a guy. What a guy. 3-0, Manchester United, says David, with goals from Kobe Mainu, Ahmad, and Garnacho. Oh. The Academy. The Academy thriving. 5-1, Dorgu tags himself in WWE style. By the way, did you see Speed at WWE last night? I saw a clip on Twitter earlier. Like, his soul was taken from him. That's crazy. Sorry, slightly out of context. 3-0 United. I'm seeing quite a lot of positive predictions here. I'm personally going to go... believe it or not, a 3rd clean sheet in a row. We haven't done that, like, in the history of existing as a football club, I believe. Obviously, that's not true. I'm going to go 2-0. Would that be 3 in a row? Because we... Yeah, Fulham was 1-0. 2-0 in midweek. Was it 3-0? I can't remember. 2-0 Manchester United. Pardon me, I do apologise. 2-0 Manchester United. Clean sheet. Maybe I'm delusional. The goals are going to come from... I'm looking for goal scorers here. Bruno's going to score, and it might be Euro Day. It might just be Euro Day. Also, by the way, guys, we've got 225 likes on the stream, which is just insane. And also, listen to this for a number, by the way. In terms of a community growing, 1,245 votes on the poll. That is mental. I think previously our best was about 100. We might need to do these polls more where we keep them up for the whole stream. Because that's insane. Literally free kick. Yes, please. Yeah, I'm going to go 2-0 United. I'm going to go for the 2-0. I hope the subs can make a big impact as well. I think that will be important late in the game. 2-0 United. And we're happy. Haven't done 3 in a row. Edwin van der Sar with his 14-game clean win streak. Yeah. Hey, feels like a long time ago, right? When was the last time we done 3 in a row, though, clean sheet, by the way? Because it genuinely just doesn't exist in my brain that we've done that. Probably under Ollie at some point, I'd imagine. Ahmad, Bruno, Garnacho. I'm seeing largely pretty positive predictions, which is nice to see. Is the fan base feeling a little bit better at the moment? If so, I like that. I like a happy Manchester United fan base because it means we're probably doing something right on the pitch and maybe even for once off the pitch as well. Maybe. Apart from that, though, I think we're finished for today. We've got about 20 minutes to go. I think the new players are now being unveiled, so I will let you guys go and watch that because we're all excited to see players like Dorgu and Heaven. It's fun to see, right? It's fun to see new players. Yeah, so I think we're going to wrap up there. No wonder your channel is growing. It's fucking class, mate. Love your post-game analysis. That's very kind of you. Thank you very much. It is indeed fucking class, if you ask me. So thank you very much. Yeah, we are going to wrap up there. So guys, thank you very much for being involved in today's stream. I don't know how many people we had, but it was pretty insane. Just quickly send some yellow cards and red cards to Josh in the chat, please. Thank you to everyone who has left a like on the stream, over 200 of you. Everyone who has been active in the chat, it's been pretty darn mental. The gifted memberships and also the super chat as well. Just beautiful, beautiful behavior. Love it. Thank you so much. I still can't get over the poll. 1,262 votes. 263. Everyone who voted in that. Legendary behavior. If you subscribed as well, just know that I love you, especially if you put notifications on as well, because that really means a lot. And if you joined the Discord as well. If you haven't done that, it's linked in the chat. It's free to join. Join the Discord server because it's just a great place to be on a match day. It's a really level-headed section of the Manchester United fan base, mostly. And if they're not, they get booed. So join the Discord. It's a good place to be on game day. And you actually get some logic applied, which is nice to see because you don't get that everywhere on the internet. So yeah, make sure to get involved over there. Apart from that, we are wrapping it up there. So thank you guys very much for watching. If you are a regular on these streams, you will know that the stream just stops randomly because YouTube hates us. So do let me know the last word I say on this stream. Let me know in the Discord server. Yep, Josh, I've just seen that. Guys, I want some yellow cards for Nuruddin as well, please, and thank you. Yeah, apart from that, we're finished. So thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed today's stream, and hopefully we enjoy the match as well. And I completely forgot to say, I'll be breaking down this game tonight. Analysis, not reaction, analysis. I will tell you actually what happened during the game tonight, this evening. So subscribe, notifications on for that. But yeah, apart from that, I'll see you guys later on. Hopefully.